During the past few weeks, I've been posting progress reports on YouTube, videos that show bits and pieces of what I'm working on. I'm at a point now that's coming dangerously close to being music. You just heard a little improvisation. That's one of the ideas. I had talked about seated random number generators, and I recently polished up this metronome that does all kinds of things described in that other video. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what's going on here. My goal is to be able to do some improvisation with a wireless keyboard, one that has the numeric pad on it. And so various things, various keys on there are doing things. The space bar starts things off. Not in there right yet. And there's a metronome that ticks away. And that started and stopped with the what's it called there, with the tab key. This fancy preset up here is controlled entirely by the letters of the alphabet. So we've got 26 up here, and if you lock down the shift key, you've got another 26. I'm just going to hit the A and the B and the C, and they switch around through those various presets. There's 52 of them up here. Over here, well, I've got this organized in what I call a conductor. That's this thing here. And then there's a composer, and the composer also has players, and that's what we're looking over here. So this has 9 players, and they are triggered by the numeric key. So if we want to just start one off, and it stops. And it's driven by this seeding up here, so I can send it a seed right here. There's also a mechanism over here where the keys on this keyboard. So if I select the lowest C, and so we have various mechanisms for seeding it, and so we can improvise too. But the whole point, as I've explained maybe too many times to people, seeded random numbers give you variety and repeatability, which has been a kind of a compositional preoccupation for, I think I'm going on 30 years now. So again, we'll just play a little bit starting off. The 0 key stops them all. I think I'm getting fairly close to the end of this. In fact, over here we have my DGX 660 band. I have one of those neat Yamaha synthesizers. This is a little menu that points it to different directions, but Portable Grand is where I'm going to stay. And so right now I'm working with this preset, and lots, I'm very ambitious with presets. Lots and lots of presets, which I have only one, and these are just kind of a little orchestra that I made, 16 channels worth from this synthesizer. And so as it plays, what's happening over here is these players are just, they're improvising themselves. They have some random choices within limits, and I think they're also choosing which MIDI channel they're going to do, so there's a lot of variety. So my next step is to polish this up into something. This is something I just designed to prove what I'm working on actually works, prove it to myself, let's say. A couple of things that you can do over here. You can pull up the menu of all of these, 500 presets. And I'm going to get down into the pads area. So here's one called Soundtrack. This little menu down here, you don't see it, but it has set all 16 channels to the same soundtrack. And so the input to this thing has an input to choose a preset. So this is not a very automatic process. I'll create some orchestras, uh, meaning an orchestra is whatever this is set to on the presets, and then there will be a place. There's a place in here where I can send a message to this. It's an application, standalone application, but I have one that can be nested into a patch. All of these things are in the same patch. This is the main patch that calls up the metronome, which I call the conductor, and the composer is over here. And so there's algorithmic stuff over here, generative. There's all kinds of approaches that are used to do it. But I work pretty hard to separate these functions. This is always needed. This is what gets it all organized. And there could be some other composers nested in here. Just a word about Gary, of course, my name. There's a mechanism where you can have all of the send-receive objects be determined by this root. And I don't know if I've got one that I can unlock here. But basically what you do is you create this, and it could be any name, that anything you need, but it gets passed down to all the subpatches, and the sends in there all have a sharp sign 1, or is that a pound sign? Sharp sign 1, then the name. Oh, here's some that I can show you right here. So we see that the send the MIDI output thing and the MIDI in, it's done with this MIDI info kind of thing. So it goes around, polls all the ports, MIDI ports that are available. And you see this sharp 1 and then the rest of the name. And when you use this mechanism, it just gets passed down. So if this had some sub patches, you would use the name and put a sharp sign 1 on it, and this name would be propagated all through these patches. So it gives me a great flexibility in making new composers. I think that might be just about it. Again, quite unrehearsed, but I hope it's informative and gives some people some ideas about how they might organize things.